So this is Beethoven's Waldstein Sonata, one of my personal favorites. The first movement, like Blackbeat, I was never able to hit the top speed, or not necessarily the top speed, but the sort of what my favorite interpretation, Platinum's interpretation, what he plays it at. So he plays it at a very, 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 very fast tempo. And this is probably at 70-75%. I don't remember the exact numbers, but Platinum plays it at 170. And I'm playing it around probably 130 or so. So I suppose I'll dive straight into it. There is one repeat which I will omit. I'm not omitting that much. I'm only omitting a bar, and this bar is simply just it's the same two bars at the beginning. It's just a segue into this theme. But the point is, I'll omit the repeats and just continue straight on. I think that's the only repeat. So, just as a warning, you might have some weird sudden tempo fluctuations because some passages are a little more developed than others. It won't be too noticeable, hopefully, but I have realized, I sort of feel that my tempo has changed, so just as a note. So, Waldstein Sonata, first movement by Beethoven. was the first movement of the Waldstein Sonata. So I guess I'll begin with what I've found to be strengths from learning this piece, or some good things. Number one, the dynamics on this piece are, I thought, obviously I can always play them better, but they're a lot easier to control on this piece. Just with, for example, the beginning, we have the into, and you can control the dynamics here much easier than you can, I guess, on other pieces. And it's a very nice. Because I consciously worked on these. Obviously, the dynamics here are a little bit better than they would have been if I hadn't practiced them. Well, that seems fairly obvious, I suppose, but my point is that I did practice these dynamics, and because I had heard the platinum interpretation so many times, and I suppose I copy him as much as I can musically, because I enjoy his interpretation so much, and that's why, I suppose because I like it, I practice these dynamics more than I usually would, especially here with the that's the first thing. Second thing is, again, this piece tests also my patience, especially just learning. And the thing with a lot of these Beethoven pieces is they tend to repeat in a different key. So you have, take this passage, which is hard enough as it is already. Obviously, I have to play both hands separately at a very slow tempo and do this for long periods of time before finally to put it together. And slowly building up the speed to play this faster. The point is, it takes a long time to learn this passage, and then Beethoven has a key change somewhere, near the end of the piece, where you have, instead of, you now have. So pretty much just as hard, and you have to relearn it, but now in a different key, and it messes up all your fingerings. But I was obviously aware of this because I had listened to recordings of this piece before I actually played, so I knew what I was expecting. So I was able to sort of transition from this key into this key relatively easily. You sort of have to relearn it because they're completely different notes, but just that patience, because I've already spent so much time on this, and usually when you play a piece you go in chronological order. And so when I finally got to this part, I was sort of mentally prepared, because there's a lot of patience required in learning such a technical piece like this. There's just scales everywhere, and it's, mind you, it's down tempo as well, but there's just still so many. Just playing this is absolutely exhausting for your left hand on this part. You just have two notes that you have to go through very, very fast and at a very steady tempo, while coordination with your right hand. It becomes very, very, very tedious. So those are sort of the overall positives from playing this piece, and obviously I can criticize myself and see how I can improve for the future. First of all, I think I stuck to the old boring sort of, well, it's boring. Any suggestion I make is probably still going to be boring, but at least a little bit less boring. But how I mostly learned these passages was simply taking a metronome, putting it down tempo, and just one hand at a time, super slow. Right hand together. Can't avoid practicing doing this sort of slow practice, because, well, how else are you going to learn? But you can make it a little bit, I suppose I could have made it a little bit more endurable by perhaps adding in some rhythms to sort of make it a little bit less dull. So instead of just playing, perhaps I could try, and this would probably help too, just because you have to constantly think about this rhythm. A piece like this is very important to stay in beat. So I could have perhaps all the way around, perhaps playing through the four. Perhaps something like that, and just doing all these sorts of exercises, just other ways to approach learning a passage. That's probably something I could have done. Another thing, obviously, is this is one of my positives as well, but the dynamics could always be better. And of course, it gets especially hard to control when you're playing at such high speeds. For example, this part is supposed to be, I'm going to do my best to play it at how Pletnev plays it, but that's probably not even as, no, that's still a little bit too slow, I think. But when you play this, left hand is just, becomes very, very repetitive. Right hand and together, that is probably a little bit closer to how Pletnev plays it, still a little bit under tempo, but as you can see, it becomes very hard to control these dynamics, and you're supposed to play this almost very quietly. But of course, when you play fast, you have the momentum in your fingers, so it becomes, at first it's, and over time you sort of have to build this, and I didn't build it as well as I could have, because it should be, see, I don't really have the technique for it because I didn't build it, but something closer to this, a little more controlled than me. But I mean, I think overall it was okay, I suppose. This piece also a bit out of my skill range, I think. This one has nothing to do with hand size, fortunately, but it's just pure. This is pure, concrete rhythms, scales, technical, all these technical things on the piano, etc., etc., that I could have worked on. But also worth mentioning that this isn't my sort of, I suppose, style of piece. Well, I do enjoy the faster tempoed pieces, which are much more lively, but in terms of actual style, I prefer more the Romantic era Chopin. So this, with all these concrete scales and technical requirements, not my sort of style. But of course, it's always good to expand your sort of diversity of piano. So that was Waldstein Sonata Movement 1 by Beethoven.